Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for everyone who's in attendance today. Let me introduce everyone here. With me are Chief of our Criminal Justice Bureau, Danielle Hageman-Clark, Chief of our Criminal Investigations Division, Aubrey Sargent, First Assistant Attorney General, Danielle Rousseau-Bennett, and AAG Caitlin Kirby. We also have our Supervisory Special Agent, Bridget Frost. And with us today also is Branch County Prosecutor, Zachary Stempien, Kalamazoo County Prosecutor and President of the Prosecuting Attorneys Association, Jeff Getting, and Special Assistant AG, Erin House, who works with the SACI initiative, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative in Kalamazoo County. And in addition, we're very pleased today to be joined by House Appropriations Chairwoman, State Representative Angela Witwer. So I'm thrilled today to announce our new partnership in Michigan law enforcement that really has the potential to change the landscape of cold case sexual assault fugitive apprehensions throughout the state of Michigan. The Michigan Department of Attorney General has partnered with local county prosecutors and the U.S. Marshals Service to launch Operation Survivor Justice. Born out of the work of our SACI units, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative tirelessly cracks cold case sexual assaults by testing previously unsubmitted sexual assault evidence kits. And this is the brainchild of Deputy U.S. Marshal in the Western District of Michigan and Special Assistant AG Erin House, again, with the Kalamazoo County SACI unit. So while working to locate a suspect in a cold case sexual assault matter who had fled the state, Special AAG House began working with a Deputy U.S. Marshal in order to track him down. And what blossomed from that conversation was a keen understanding of how the U.S. Marshals could help us pursue justice for hundreds of Michigan sexual assault victims. Now, Operation Survivor Justice is a partnership between my office, the Michigan Department of Attorney General, the U.S. Marshals Service, and elected county prosecutors throughout the state to locate, apprehend, and return to Michigan offenders with outstanding sexual assault charges to stand trial and face accountability and justice at long last. Already, our department has worked with local prosecutors and the Marshals Service to extradite defendants back to Michigan and into a courtroom from the states of California, Florida, and also from Mexico. The Marshals are able to leverage their vast intelligence apparatus and their prolific national presence in order to track down and take into custody criminal defendants wherever they run or hide. But these efforts do come at a cost to transport the defendants sometimes all the way across the country. And the Marshals are able to bring back these wanted fugitives via specialized flights of convicted and suspected criminals from anywhere in the continental U.S. At a cost to cover the specific logistical cost for delivering each of the defendants back, which represents a significant discount from the private party extradition specialists that we otherwise would have to rely upon. Now, the operations to bring back the defendants I mentioned earlier have been possible with funding from my office's budget into the SACI program, which receives $1.4 million annually in funding from previous legislative session budgets. But today forward, these operations will be possible with dedicated Operation Survivor Justice appropriations by the legislature signed into law just this past summer. And to that end, that's why today we're joined by one of the legislative leaders who made all this possible and in their latest budget and signed into law a $1 million appropriation to my department specifically for funding these national sex assault fugitive apprehensions and extraditions. And we're incredibly grateful for this funding to pursue this first in the nation partnership, which is truly a potential game changer in our ability to bring these defendants to justice and endeavor towards healing and closure for many of the victims that this program will certainly impact. To our legislative leaders in the House and Senate who championed our cause towards Operation Survivor Justice, I'd really like to say thank you, not just on my behalf, but from the prosecutors who will finally get to pursue accountability in their communities, from the victims who may have sometimes just given up hope hearing that their attacker fled the state, and from any future would-be victims of these sexual predators that are on the run and free out in public across state lines. This funding, this program, we believe, will make a significant difference. It will touch the lives of victims and those who hopefully never will become one, because we're able to take this decisive strike with our new partners in this effort to secure justice for as many sexual assault survivors as possible. So as I mentioned, first in the nation partnership, now well funded, ready to hit the ground running. Operation Survivor Justice is only operational in Michigan, but we are hoping to set an example that will lead across the nation, and that the Marshals Service one day can expand their activities with agreements in other states from coast to coast. This is also today a request from all our county prosecuting attorneys to work with us on this important project. This partnership really depends on county prosecutors identifying cases involving fugitive defendants, and we know that there are eligible cases and warrants out in every single community. Eligible cases for Operation Survivor Justice, fugitive apprehension, and extradition include over 800 defendants, all of them who are out on cash bail. We have a list of all eligible types of cases, and we're eager to discuss pursuing them with the county prosecutors. These are the factors that would be required. Previously charged cases, we're not seeking new warrants to pursue. These are people who have already been charged. Defendants must be charged with what we would call contact sexual assault crimes, so a penetration or a touching, including a criminal sexual conduct first, second, third, or fourth degree, while also including charged cases of accosting a minor for immoral purposes. These should be cases that are prosecution ready, so either with prosecutors who would like to handle the case or who are willing to hand off or partner with the Department of Attorney General and the many specially trained prosecutors that we have here. We also would like to have cases where witnesses and victims can be located and are cooperative, even though in some cases it has been many years since the crime will have occurred. Now, as with all the efforts in my office, this is a trauma-informed, victim-centered approach, and so the desire of the victim to re-engage in this process remains our biggest priority. And again, we appreciate just how short-staffed many prosecutors' offices are right now, but the goal is to get fugitive sexual assault defendants back to Michigan to face prosecution. We're not looking to take over any local jurisdiction or influence the prosecutorial authority or discretion of our county prosecutors. Partnership on Operation Survivor Justice does not require local prosecutors to hand off their cases to our prosecutors, and it doesn't require them to partner with our office really on any facet of the case. They're welcome to negotiate directly with the U.S. Marshals Service under Operation Survivor Justice to locate, to apprehend, and to extradite their eligible offenders. So with that, I'm going to pass this along. I don't have the run show here. So who's next? Is it you, Angela? All right. Angela Witwer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you, Attorney General, for your leadership on this very important appropriation and start of a program. I'm Angela Witwer, and I'm the Appropriations Chair for the House of Representatives, and I'm the State Representative for Eaton County. As House Budget Chair the past 2 years, I've been tasked with helping to improve public safety and the well-being of all 10 million Michiganders. One of the recent public safety initiatives that I'm most proud of is partnering with our Attorney General to bolster Operation Survivor Justice with direct support from our state budget. I couldn't have asked for better budget partners that helped get this done, including our Governor, Governor Whitmer, Chair Sarah Anthony, Representative Felicia Brayback, Senator John Cherry, and of course, our Attorney General, Dana Nessel. I'd also like to share my appreciation of our law enforcement community, including our state's county prosecutors. of which I work very closely with mine, Prosecutor Doug Lloyd. Operation Survivor Justice is a relatively small line item, but an incredibly important investment that will increase accountability for perpetrators of sexual assault here in Michigan. Lack of resources should never be the reason we do not seek justice for victims of heinous crimes. Yet the unfortunate reality is extraditing defendants back to Michigan can be a costly endeavor that many local prosecuting attorneys' offices simply do not have the resources for. That's why we decided to help remove these barriers by increasing financial support from the state so survivors of sexual assault can begin to heal when perpetrators are finally brought to justice. I'm told there are more than 1,600 open warrants for sexual assault related offenses in Michigan, including child sexually abusive activity and sex offender registry violations. In Eaton County alone, we have 5 cases on the list dating back to January of 2021. Quite frankly, we can't just let these offenses go unprosecuted. And although the main reason we're investing in Operation Survivor Justice is to increase public safety and help survivors, I wouldn't be an appropriator if I didn't mention the financial sense that this makes. By partnering with the federal department like the U.S. Marshals through Operation Survivor Justice, the state of Michigan actually saves money rather than hiring a private company to have these individuals extradited. It's also much safer to leave the task to the highly trained law enforcement personnel. So with that, I once again want to thank you all for being here and showing your interest in this important issue. And I hope this is just the beginning that we can continue to build Operation Survivor Justice into the important law enforcement tool for the survivors deserve. Thank you again for having me today.
Thank you, Reb.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for everybody for being here. I'm Zach Stempien. I'm the Branch County Prosecuting Attorney. And I think the 2 previous statements and comments really hit on a lot of the important points for the Branch County Prosecutor's Office. When it comes down to it, Operation Survivor Justice has put my office into a position that we've been able to prosecute numerous cases that we otherwise would not have been able to do so. And when we talk about resources and the ability to find individuals that are fugitives at justice or at large, it's a real thing, and it's a significant thing for an office such as mine. So when we look at line items and budgets and the amount of money that we have to do these investigations, Branch County, my budget for extradition for the year is $500. I would not be able to extradite somebody from Indiana for $500 anymore through a private company. So we've had 3 cases now that are kind of in the purview of Operation Survivor Justice, 2 of which are in the court system being prosecuted currently by Ms. Kirby. And those 2 individuals were individuals that were located at length from Branch County. One was in Mexico, one was in Florida. And when we look at the cost of that to be borne by the Prosecuting Attorney's Office of Branch County, that would have been significant and something that frankly would have been very difficult for us to be able to handle. Now, before we even get to the point of extradition is the task of locating these individuals. And prior to Operation Survivor Justice beginning, we had a part-time investigator trying to find open warrants for us across the country. And when you have a part-time investigator calling from a local county prosecutor's office to the FBI or the U.S. Marshals or these federal agencies, you do not get a lot of response oftentimes because they're busy, they're doing other things. So the ability to be able to partner directly with the U.S. Marshals opened a door that was significant for us. And once we started partnering with the U.S. Marshals, we were able to locate people very quickly in other countries and faraway states and be able to bring them back. And I will tell you, I'll never forget the feeling when I was sitting on the bus going down to Florida for a family trip, and I get a text message from the U.S. Marshal saying, we have this defendant. He's in custody, and they're getting ready to get him on the airplane back to the state of Michigan. Now, we talked about the victims and the victims losing hope on these cases, and that is true. When you have a warrant that's been out there for 5 or 6 years, victims start to think, my perpetrator is never going to be caught. This case is never going to go anywhere. And my office has tried to maintain some contact with the victim throughout the time, but our updates were never very positive. It's, well, we're looking for them, but we have not had much success. So when we were finally able to tell them, we found them, we're bringing them back, our victims they're very excited about it, and they're very relieved that they're finally going to get the opportunity at justice. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's not about the Branch County Prosecutor's Office getting a conviction or the Attorney General getting a conviction. It's about the state of Michigan getting a conviction and making sure that people who are perpetrators are held accountable. So with Operation Survivor Justice, we've been able to do that. So thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jeff Getting. I'm the Kalamazoo County Prosecuting Attorney, and I currently have the privilege and honor of being the president of the Prosecuting Attorneys Association for the state of Michigan. I want to start off today by the thought that came to my mind when I was contacted by the Attorney General's office and asked to speak here about Operation Survivor Justice. And I want to say it in a way that I think everybody understands. When someone is evading prosecution, moves to another state, does things to minimize their contact with law enforcement in order to keep from being arrested, they're often able to avoid the long arm of the law. But it is totally different when the long arm of the law comes looking for you. And that's what Operation Survivor Justice is about. It's about the long arm of the law enforcement, state officials, federal officials, working together with the resources that are necessary in order to be able to accomplish that task, bringing people to justice. I want to make sure that I thank all of the partners that have been involved in this. Attorney General Dana Nessel, the Michigan Legislature, the Governor's Office, and the United States Marshal's Office. Without each of those partners, this does not happen. And what was a good idea, brought forth by a single instance, a single case arising out of Kalamazoo County, and a conversation that happened between two professionals, it blossomed into something that is real, that is going to help victims, going to help survivors across the state of Michigan. Numbers, over 1,600 fugitives from justice right now, over 800 cases that have been identified by the U.S. Marshals Service for their help and assistance. Those are real cases. Those are real people who have been victims of horrific crimes, who now do have a greater hope, a hope for justice, and a knowledge that there will be accountability and consequence for those persons that hurt them. There's nothing that we do as prosecutors that's more important than what we do on behalf of our victims. And when we are able to bring together the resources that are necessary that will make it better for those victims, we have an obligation to do that. And the people that are here in this room recognize that and took the steps necessary in order to make it happen. I can't speak more highly of the people that were involved in this. It was really something that was born of good intentions and blossomed into something that will help victims, survivors across the state. And you see that in what's happening already in Branch County with my colleague, Prosecutor Stempien. Being able to recognize that oftentimes we locally don't have the resources that we should have, but that if we get out of our way, if we set our egos to the side, we can get the help that we need in order to be able to better prosecute cases, in order to be able to accomplish things like an arrest in Florida or Mexico that we wouldn't otherwise see happening, takes true leadership. And I want to thank Prosecutor Stempien for the way he has led Branch County in bringing justice for victims in that community. The last thing I think I want to say is that this is kind of adjacent to what's been happening in the state of Michigan over the last several years with the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative that was born out of Wayne County and Prosecuting Attorney Kim Worthy's discovery of thousands of untested rape kits. One of the most important lessons that I think has come out of that is that when prosecutors have resources that are necessary in order to better prosecute these cases, we see results. We have seen case after case after case in Kalamazoo County, case after case after case in counties across the state of Michigan, where people who otherwise would not have been held accountable for their actions have. Where serial rapists who otherwise would not have been identified have been identified, have been brought to justice, have been sent to prison for their actions. And recognizing that those resources, when they are available to the Office of the Attorney General, when they are available to local prosecutors' offices, can be put to use in a way that does bring justice on behalf of survivors, I think is maybe the most important lesson of all from that project. In Operation Survivor Justice is a great example of how that lesson is being applied today.